Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Game Junk Podcast, episode 129, recording on Sunday, November 27th, 2022. My name is Frank.
My name is Sean.
And my name is Andrew.
And I hope everyone is doing Black Friday shopping, Steam autumn sales, Amazon orders, whatever it is, digital storefronts for all of your favorite consoles. I've been spending money like crazy. But I've also bought a few new games that we'll talk about, including Sonic Frontiers and Evil West. But before that, we will be getting to some junk mail. Not a lot of news. We're into that holiday lull. Not a lot of action, as they like to say. So we're going to take some of your junk mail. There's quite a bit, and they're pretty good questions. So anything you guys want to mention or talk about before we get into it?
Well, I could talk a bit about the autumn sale. Are you actually finding stuff? I've been struggling to find some things. There was a couple like 80% offs, but they were all like 80% off $80 games, so they're still pretty expensive. And I hadn't really found too much to dive into.
Look, I got lots on that wish list. I think I popped in about 13 or 14 things, maybe more.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I know, but I almost forgot. When does this sale go to? The 29th.
December 1st? Oh, 29th?
If you're listening to this on the Monday before the 29th, last time we didn't record when it was on sale. Embers of Miriam is on sale as part of the Steam sale. A game I worked on a lot as a designer, so it's up for $5.
Wow.
Been waiting to pop on it.
If we're gonna play this game, hang on. Oh, okay. Soundfall, not on sale. Although I saw it oh no, it is on sale. Soundfall is on sale. I'm sure Citizens Earth is on sale. I think that baby's always on sale. I'm sure...
Porting to consoles doesn't count.
Porting to consoles doesn't count? Come on. Although I didn't do much on the Steam version, that's for sure. But if you want... I heard it was on sale on Switch, so there, I did do that.
Lost Orbit Terminal Velocity, also on sale for $1.
Steal.
Huge. Rocket Rumble, $7.46. Check it out from your friends at Pixelnaut Games. Embers of Miriam from Creative Bytes Studios. Any other promotions?
I don't know. Not that I could think of. I could go down my list of stuff I've worked on. It's probably all on sale, but I'll stop. Hey, you know what? Probably Epic Dumpster Bear's not on sale, but let's give a shout out to Epic Dumpster Bear too. Come on, buy that baby on Switch. That is a steal, whatever price.
That's the benefit of having such a small
Thank you, Sean.
Of credits. I have so few credits that I can name them all.
Yes, there we go.
Anyway, let's get into some junk mail. First one comes from Scotty. Hey, Junkers. Scotty from Vancouver here. Do you think that setting Apex Legends in the Titanfall universe was actually just a clever, convenient, lazy, I don't know, way of reusing a massive array of 3D models, assets, weapons, objects, architecture, etc.? Does this explain why, for the most part, Apex and Titanfall still remain completely disconnected despite taking place in the same universe? Thanks, Scotty.
I should say some of these are kind of old, too, like at least a few months old.
No need to say that. These are evergreen questions. If they were dated, I would have tossed them in the garbage.
Some people probably forgot they even asked these questions, but...
You think Scotty forgot about this question? He's probably been fucking dying out there in Vancouver waiting for me.
Also possible.
Okay. I didn't even know they were set in the same universe.
Perfect.
Yeah. Well, I did know that, but I'm not really familiar with Apex Legends, so I don't. I mean, I feel like it was an attempt at the beginning when Apex Legends was launching to somehow tie it into something that was a known quantity. But it's just funny because now Apex Legends is way bigger than Titanfall, I think. So
yeah, I could see a version where they also are opening or leaving the door open for a campaign that involves both. Like characters from Apex Legends and Titanfall, or maybe an asymmetric type game involving those two things. Who knows? But I don't think it's about using assets. Like, you could reuse those assets anyway. At least like the environment stuff, and no one would probably be smart, even if you just change some post-process or material settings. Like, companies do that all the time. So I don't think...
Yeah, but it is a cost savings.
So
So maybe they were just kind of like hedging their bets, like, people might see that these are the same, so let's just set them in the same universe, and like, who cares? I could see it being a total, like, something they do on purpose. Either way, like, as a way to hedge their bets and say people might recognize these, or they have some grander plan, like you were thinking of, some sort of crossover game that just hasn't come to fruition because probably both games are doing pretty decent. So
so probably a bit of both, and probably a sound decision, I would say. Have some IP it's based on, but at some point, are people going to care? Are they going to be disappointed that it's not connecting? I highly doubt it. It did remind me, I did some research, games that were in the same universe, and it usually is a marketing gimmick. Does anyone remember the most famous of all these? Gone Home, taking place in the BioShock universe.
I kind of remember hearing about that. Is that actually legit, or?
Yeah, and there was like a link specifically from, I didn't know what it was, but BioShock 2 had a game in it that was also referenced in Gone Home, and that's a pretty lame. That was like a complete marketing thing.
Yeah, I wonder if that actually got sign off by 2K Marin or whoever, because I know the guy who did Gone Home worked on BioShock 2.
Oh yeah, for sure. That's the connection, and I highly doubt it. But I mean, who knows? We don't know. That was the one that comes to mind for me. Is like, it felt like a marketing gimmick for sure to get. Which, I mean, I get when you're an indie game or a small game, you need to get attention somehow. So, plugging on Game Junk doesn't always pay the bills,
Probably not.
That gets a mass appeal. All right, let's go to the next question. Up, up, down, down, left, right, BA. Aren't we missing a select start here? Sorry.
I think so. We might be.
From the late 80s and through the 90s, cheats for games were a big thing and a major joy for me. Unlimited lives, invincibility, blood codes, secret doors, and level selects. Cheats for video games seem to have lost favor in the past 3 decades, although sweet controller combinations and zany passwords. Exploits have emerged as an evil version of cheats. Do you have some favorite cheats, and do you take advantage of exploits? Thanks, Lucas3D.
I do not usually take advantage of exploits, but if there are cheats available, I will. And the one cheat that I can think of, though I can't remember exactly what it did, actually, but I know I used it all the time, was for Shining Force 2 on the Sega Genesis. There was some sort of cheat code that opened up some sort of like secret configuration file thing, and I can't remember exactly what it did, but I remember using it all the time. And that's the only one that stands out on me. I mean, obviously, like, the Konami code for Contra is legendary and is where basically this came from. So that one you have to use. I don't know anyone that can beat Contra in 3 lives or 5 lives or however many you get. But
I think I used it in Bayou Billy to make that game playable.
Yeah, it's in a lot of their games, I think. But
I mean, that's the answer to why cheat codes don't exist anymore. People have figured out how to balance their games and understand difficulty and pacing, and reviews keep games honest, where before you were kind of at the mercy of box art and rental stores. Now people can look up reviews everywhere, and if a game is poorly balanced or unfair or would require cheat codes to beat, there's thousands of other games that will hit the right sweet spot for difficulty that won't require cheats.
Yeah, and I think games in this era were also still trying to shake off their like arcade roots of having the games be super hard and just trying to like get people to pump in quarters, whereas they hadn't realized like, hey, we don't have to do that anymore. We can actually, like Frank said, make the game balanced, make it fun. We don't necessarily need to have you start over from the very beginning every time you lose 3 lives or whatever. It's not just about complete memorization.
Yeah, I mean, basically checkpoints replaced cheat codes at some level. And getting to a later question, the modern equivalent is probably something closer to save states, like being able to save, whether it's emulation or games that let you save exactly where you are in the game. That's gets around everything. Like I mean, it's programmed into the game. It's part of the rules, but it's I wouldn't say it's an exploit, but it gets around punishing difficulties. That was the biggest thing with punishing difficulty. You usually have to go back really far and redo stuff over and over again, or beat the game without continuing. But I do have some favorite cheat codes. Sean, do you have any favorite cheat codes? You look like a guy who cheats. You're a hacker.
The only one that comes to mind, which I think has been mentioned at some point before, the classic Metroid Justin Bailey, which isn't really a cheat code. It's just a save password that was easy to remember. But
some of my favorites would be that I actually used. Obviously, the blood code for Mortal Kombat 1, or was it 2? 2 had blood in it by default. So Mortal Kombat 1 on Super Nintendo. I think Genesis had blood by default. Oh, that's embarrassing. NBA Jam, Big Head mode. Oh, yeah.
Classic.
Those are actually pretty fun codes, even going into like NBA Showtime on Dreamcast and stuff like that. Those arcade sports games had some fun cheat codes, and unlocking players with initials. So
who are like? I know Mark Turmel, I think, who was one of them, like the guy, one of the designers or developers.
Yeah.
Didn't they have like Bill Clinton as a playable character in one?
Yeah.
I don't remember who else, but
a lot of the mascots for teams were played.
Yeah.
Those were really good. And Doom God mode, where it was just unlimited ammo, no damage, and just having fun, unleashing carnage, ultra violence.
Yeah, I love the culture of like I think what he's talking about, like trying to collect and learn all these things, and like obviously Game Magazines was a huge source of that. I may have said this before, but the Game Pro TV show, I used to watch it with a notebook so I could like take notes on like cheats and passwords and stuff they would mention. That was
the back of the day when like if you missed that show, you were never seeing that show again ever.
Yeah, exactly.
So like that was your one time.
Yeah.
I was just gonna say like a few kind of on the same road. Like we were talking about how the passwords were kind of got around the arcade style. I feel like this also started to be grown out, and in games like I'm thinking of 2 in particular, but like I think later NBA Jam games and like Wayne Gretzky's 3D Hockey, where they just had the modes, I think, kind of like unlocked for you to play as already. It was kind of like built-in cheats. And then the other one, which I think did it great, was GoldenEye, where you actually had to achieve the states through gameplay, the cheats through gameplay. So yeah, I think there was like, beat a level in some amount of time, and you'd unlock like, I remember like paintball mode and no radar were like 2 insanely popular cheats that you'd always use when playing with your friends. And so that was kind of much nicer. Well, I guess to some degree much nicer, but you actually had to earn it, and it wasn't hidden by some secret like behind the scenes. Once you unlocked it, it was there forever. You didn't have to keep putting it in, kind of thing.
I'm trying to remember, did you have to unlock Golden Gun mode, or was it
so
by default?
I think, wasn't that something in like the temple or one of those? Maybe. Yeah.
Lastly, the last part about exploits. I mean, I have, on the record, exploited the demon of hatred in Sekiro to get a platinum. And I will carry that shame with me to the grave. But I mean, it depends. I won't use an exploit unless I have to. If it's getting to the point where I'm trying to finish a game up and I think something is too punishingly difficult, or I will not hesitate to exploit.
Yeah.
I mean, it's an interesting question sometimes, like whether something is an exploit or not. Like, like the idea of like quote unquote cheesing a boss.
Yeah.
Like if you can do it, just like you figure out how to do something on your own. Like, I don't know, is that an exploit? Like,
yeah, like AI, the classic one is like you find the like range of the AI and then you sit just outside that range and like watch them ping pong back and forth as they're like, come to get you, no, I'm too far, coming to get you, no, I'm too far, like, and then you just pick them off or whatever. But yeah, I think you have a good point there, Sean. Like, is that really an exploit? I think like a real exploit would be like when you watch those speed runners in like Legend of Zelda, where they're like backflipping through a wall, which then like magically teleports them to some other area of the game. Like, I think that is more like I would consider an exploit, whereas the former I would consider just like, basically bad, some edge case in the, the logic of the game that you're taking advantage of and to have an easier time. Not really an exploit.
And sometimes those are harder to do than just playing the game regularly. Like, it takes a lot of practice to be able to find teleport locations or bad collisions and stuff like that. But I mean, the Demon of Hatred is pure cheese. It like falls off. Like, that's an exploit. I agree with you guys. Everything you're saying, not really exploits to me. It's part of the game. But I mean, okay, let's use a classic example that I'm sure we all can relate to. Are certain ways of scoring in NHL exploits? I'm sure we would get mad if someone would do the around the goalie, like back out to the corner across the goalie goal in NHL 94. We must have been mad for a reason. Is it an exploit or not?
I mean, to me, it's not. I wouldn't be mad because if I know you're going to do it, I can. Like, it's
gotta play defense, bud.
Them. Yeah,
gotta
like
play defense.
Yeah, it's an easy way to score. But if that's all you can do, then you're going to get killed at some point. I think.
It's just that your goalie's shit. You gotta account for that, man. It's not an exploit. He just is weak in that exact play every single time.
And we would be remiss if we didn't include the Game Genie in this conversation.
Oh, yeah.
Were we all Game Genie users? I know Sean was. I don't even have to ask.
I loved it. I didn't own one, but I rented it many times.
Own a Game Genie?
No.
You loser.
I didn't own anything, man. I rented everything. Like, that's where
right.
I was thinking about this the other day.
Sean and I were on welfare, bud. Get used to it, okay?
But the Game Genie is you can use with every game. It was mandatory ownership.
It would have been a worthwhile purchase for sure. But I was thinking about this the other day, like the idea of being a dabbler. I feel like it came from renting games all the time. Like, I just never played through full games. All I ever did was like play a game for a day and be like, okay, take it back, rent a new one. So,
I mean, I have a counter theory. Dabbling comes from sucking at games and not being able to beat them and putting them down.
I don't agree with that, but okay, you're entitled to your opinion, Frank.
I'm just kidding. I don't think that's why. You can always set it to easy or something. So.
Right.
For the next question, I thought I was going to play this game. I had it on my list of things to do, and I forgot before the show. Anyway, I've got a question for Frank, but I don't know the Game Junk email. My question is... Oh, sorry.
Oh, you skipped it. You skipped it. Back it up.
Yikes.
Just continue with this one. We can backtrack after.
My question is, what's Frank's go-to character to play with on Vampire Survivors? Personally, I can't imagine playing with anyone else other than Poe. He's honestly a little OP with what with the instant ring of garlic and all. Thanks to Frank for turning me on to this wonderful game. I've put in many hours on it since I picked up my deck. Thanks for the great show. Keep it up. I hate to say it. I like the garlic too. I'm a Poe, and I don't know if this is a spoiler, but Death. I like to use Death as well once you unlock Death. Very fast. Good for getting those extra minute on the stages. Achievements. Other than that, I mix it up. I'm always trying different characters, trying to unlock their stuff. It's part of the fun of the game. Don't really have a go-to.
Part of that achievement grind. You got to get them all.
I got to get back to it. I've been off it. All right. The question I meant to read was, Midnight Fight Express is perhaps the best game in 20 years. It is basically an upgrade of the Die Hard arcade game, hugely underrated. This game is awesome. P.S. Just started playing Cuphead, and that is spectacular as well. I'm digging these hyper difficult, short, updated, old school games. What are your feelings on this? Is this what Returnal is like? I want more of this. Never stop potting, Jared Kerr.
I played some of Midnight Fight Express, so you guys have not played it at all?
No.
I played a bit.
Okay, so I don't remember too much about it, but I did think it was pretty good. I know some people at work really enjoyed it and thought it was great, but it definitely didn't like grab me the way like Cuphead. Absolutely, I was just enthralled with Cuphead. So I would say that I appreciate the shortness of these games a lot and how it's, you know, hyper focused on one sort of thing. But that can also, if it's too long, that can also be a detriment because there's really not too much variety. So as long as the game is kept at a good length, I'm totally into these games as well.
I don't know if he's played it, but Sifu seems like it's kind of in the same ballpark as Midnight Fight Express. And
Totally, yeah.
More polished. So if you
totally.
like these difficult, hyper-focused games, I think Sifu is also up your alley. Returnal is not short. Like, it takes a long time to do everything in it. A run itself can be, if you're going to beat like 3 biomes, that could be like 2.5 to 3 hours if you're going to get everything. So I love Returnal. I can't wait for it to come out on PC, and I will platinum it again or the equivalent, but it's not one of these. It does have an old school feeling though. Like it's difficult, very
kind of like a bullet hell, right? It's kind of like a 3D bullet hell.
It's gameplay action focused. There's not a lot of story. It's very minimal. The presentation's phenomenal. Maybe Returnal is up your alley as well. But I mean, I got to play Midnight Fight Express. Now, I don't love Die Hard arcade game. I don't think I've really played it, even though I might have played it once. It's sitting there for Sega Saturn, but I don't remember what it's like. It's a beat 'em up.
Yeah, well, that's kind of what this is. I mean, I got to go back to it as well, but I think initially it looks really cool when you watch the trailers. I feel like the gameplay feels a little bit clunkier than that, but just on the short but difficult games, I mean, I don't know if this is, I'm trying to understand exactly what he's talking about here, but like I do like, even though I generally don't like difficult games, the ones that I do like and get into is when it's sort of like short checkpoints, but you can kind of just try something over and over again. Something like Celeste or Super Meat Boy. I don't know if that's exactly what he's talking about. Like, I feel like Cuphead is not quite that. Like, Cuphead for me, the attempt at a boss is too long. If I die close to the end of beating a boss, I'm like frustrated and I don't want to do it all over again. So that's too long for me, but if maybe that's still short enough for him.
One game I was going to suggest that is not quite the same as like a super action, but Super Hot, I think kind of falls into this kind of like action-y, quick kind of shortness area that I think might be a good choice if you're looking for something else to try out.
The result, I never played these games, but Hotline Miami, those are... I don't know how difficult they are.
Yeah, they can be difficult, I think.
Let me just do a quick check here. Nah, fuck it. I think that's it. I think we got them all. We got every single short, hard game. All right, next question. Can't remember if we've done this before, but best game over screens? MGS2, Sons of Liberty, has a quality game over screen. IMO, Patrick. I think we have done this before, but whatever. Let's do it again.
I mean, when he posted this on Discord, there was already a bit of discussion about it on the Discord.
Maybe that's what I'm thinking of.
And
just a reminder, Discord link is in the YouTube episodes, youtube.com/GameJunk.
Yeah, and I think a lot of the classic ones were covered on the Discord. Like people mentioned Symphony of the Night. I mean, the original Metal Gear is also, I think, a classic. With
Metal Gear Solid, in particular, is that what you're saying? Or original, like for
Metal Gear Solid with the yelling snake.
Yeah, they all have a version of that, and they're really good.
I was thinking, like,
you guys keep going though.
The only one that really pops into my head was Tomb Raider, because don't they have like a ton of like unique death animations and stuff depending on the context?
Some pretty brutal ones too.
Yeah.
Which was kind of copied from Crash Bandicoot is the first game I can remember doing that.
Oh yeah.
I really liked what that game did. It like whatever your death animation was, it put a black background behind it and just played the animation for Crash. It's a great one.
I thought you were going to bring up the one that you were just creaming all over, Frank, just like within the past year. Can you guess what I'm thinking of?
Absolutely not.
Death's Door.
Yeah, I was going to bring that one up.
With the big death over it. You were all over that. You were like, this is the best death scene I've ever seen. It says death and like...
It's really good. I forgot about it though. I got to be honest. Metal Gear Solid. I have a soft spot in my heart for Sonic, even though I think it's one of the most overrated franchises of all time. I love the first Sonic Game Over. It was like a somber version of the Sonic theme song. That was really good.
That is good.
I think the best ones, or up there for the best, is Arkham series, Arkham Asylum, where whatever villain you're after, it's like a kind of a cut
joke
scene
on you
with them. Yeah. Also seems kind of inspired by Crash Bandicoot, and similarly, like Crash Bandicoot, Naughty Dog, The Last of Us, when you get killed by certain enemies, clickers, especially in Last of Us Part 2, the death animations, super animated, effective at conveying death. Sure, people would mention all of the Dark Souls, You Died, or versions of that, which to me is borrowed from Resident Evil 1. The original Resident Evil was You Died, and it would show up in, I think, Spin Your Corpse or something like that. So that's a good one. And the first article, when I was researching this, I knew what my favorite was, and I was like, I wonder if any article is going to have this. And I was so embarrassed when the first article I read had it as number one. And I've probably talked about it before, but Sega Rally Championship.
Game over, yeah!
That is amazing. Okay, I never played
so good to lose.
Okay, that is the best. You need to send me that. Again? Wait, oh yeah.
Game over, yeah!
Oh, that is glorious.
It is very good.
So the only other ones I had to add, Red Dead Redemption, just like dead, it's pretty good. And gotta give a shout out to Two Human and the Valkyrie, man. Come on.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, for sure.
Everyone loved it.
Good call.
Oh, yeah. The highest.
Reed Farrington. I remember my first meeting at Silicon Knights for a upcoming junk mail here, a little appetizer for you. Being in a tech and tools meeting, and Reed just couldn't figure out a bug where the Valkyrie was going through the floor. It was in a certain part of, I think, the Hall of Heroes. That's my first memory of a bug from my first meeting at Silicon Knights.
Was that your first memory of Reed?
I think it is, yeah.
Nice.
And then it was looking at his code and wondering why he puts underscores between everything. But
to each his own.
That's fine. I can live with that.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Anything else for Game Over?
I'm sure there's lots of other great ones we're forgetting, but let us know.
Okay. This one comes from Moquam on Discord. Dear Junkers, you guys try out a lot of new games, but is there a game you frequently return to, perhaps when the dust from a new release has settled? Moquam.
I got some old faithfuls, but they're like I always return to, Final Fantasy 4, Final Fantasy 6, maybe even Final Fantasy 7. I've been getting the itch to go back to Remake recently because I never beat the DLC that came out. But I also find I always go back to Uncharted. I play Uncharted 1, Uncharted 2 a lot when I go back to it. Arkham Asylum I go back to often as well, which is funny because I find that there's like this almost like age dead black hole of games where I like Super Nintendo and early PlayStation role-playing games, and then like nothing, and then the newer action games I just really enjoy. So I don't know what happened in that like PS2, PS3, borderline PS4 era, but I'm having trouble finding games. I don't know if it's like the difficulty of like being able to play them, like accessibility to them, or what. But yeah, so those are mine that I go back to.
Now, really, I don't know if I go back to a particular game. Part of it is if I've already done everything in it, gotten every achievement or trophy, I'm not going to go back. So part of this is there's a remaster or something, and I go back to and play it again and do everything all over again because I love the game. And not surprisingly, this list, these games are basically my favorite games ever. Like I'll play them again anytime. Uncharted 1 is that one for me. I've beaten that game at least 17 times.
Wow, that's a lot.
I've beaten it a lot. Jak and Daxter, another Naughty Dog game. Also a game I've probably beaten 5 or 6 times. Any Mario game, I feel like I've played every Mario game at least a few times. I beat Mario Odyssey twice, and that's a recent release. Fantastic games. No surprise there. Returnal is one that I want to keep playing it, even though I've done everything and I just can't make myself do it. But that's the one I would return to frequently. But again, if you don't play it constantly, you kind of lose your skills, and it's not that much fun to go back to it after taking a break. Last one. Every once in a while, every few years, I just have to go back and beat Donkey Kong Country, original Donkey Kong Country.
Nice.
And I'll add Symphony of the Night. Anytime there's a new version of Symphony of the Night, 200.6% it every time.
Notice those? Super Nintendo, PlayStation 1.
Some
Both
are,
those.
Yep.
Just
No
saying.
doubt.
There's like a weird gap in the middle.
Sean?
Absolutely
wrong.
nothing. Absolutely nothing. I mean, the only thing that comes to mind is just the NHL 94, certain group of friends. If we get together, that will usually come out in some way. I did rebuy the Arkham games on Steam recently with an actual intention to replay them, but who knows if it'll ever happen. That's the closest I would say I've come.
I know if it'll ever happen. The answer is no. And I forgot, I actually do have a go-to game. A game I've probably put more hours into than any game in the history of video games. Rock Band 4.
Ooh.
That's a good one.
Never stop playing Rock Band. I absolutely love it.
I have one
New
that
instruments.
I have one that I didn't mention that I am embarrassed I forgot. It is the best game of all time, Binary Domain. I go back to that baby all the time.
Dude,
It is a gem.
It just proves it's all a fraud.
I know, I can't believe it.
You're done.
I'm so embarrassed.
Rightfully so.
I know.
Okay, next question. Dear Game Men, if you beat a game via emulator and use save states, does it count as beating it? It also makes me wonder if Sean or anybody who worked on pre-360 era consoles knows why most games wouldn't let you save and load freely then. Didn't know if it was a limitation of the systems or what, since most PC games back then did. Tamu.
First question, I would say yes. I mean,
First question, I would say no, you did not beat it.
it depends. I would say save states is not really cheating. I mean, it's making it a little bit easier, but I think it's acceptable.
As a guy who just beat Castlevania 1 with a heavy use on save states, I would say yes, it does count.
It is not. At best, I'll give you beat it with an asterisk or something like that. Like, there's no way that counts. The whole point, if it was that easy to beat it, you wouldn't need to save states. It's not the same thing.
Yeah,
Don't
but
use
for
the
some
save states then.
people, they don't want to, like, you can't just, certain games you can't just turn off and pause exactly where you are in the middle of the game. So adding that ability just makes it more convenient for people.
Okay, if you're using it to pause, I will say you beat it. You are not using it to pause. You're
Correct.
using it to like get to a point with full health and then go back to that and
Totally.
not have to go through all the obstacles in between. The way it was designed to be played by the designer, for better or worse. No, you have not beaten it. You can say I get it. I've experienced it. I used save states to get the trophies for beating the game. Whatever, that's fine. But technically, you have not beaten it.
Have we ever discussed, I thought we did have a question about this somewhere, and I don't know if we ever answered it, but like the achievement system that exists for emulators, like for old games. Or have we talked about that?
We haven't.
Like-
I think you mentioned it to me once to probably try to get me to play.
Maybe. Is it what's the one big emulator system that like has all the other emulators that you can
Polymega? Is that the one you're talking
no, but like
Console.
about? RetroArch?
RetroArch, that's what I'm thinking of. Yeah. So I think it's built into that. And I think it's basically, I don't know who controls this. Like it's some kind of fan submitted thing, but I assume people have to agree on it. And they have achievements for like all these old games that you can.
Oh, that's called retroachievements.com, I think. It's like a built-in website. It's like a website you can register on, and then it gets funneled into RetroArch. Yeah, I do that sometimes.
You
It's
must be
pretty fun.
doing it based on something, though. I'm guessing it's like actual memory.
Yeah, I don't know.
In
They must
certain
have
parts of the game.
someone definitely has to go through the game and probably check to see when certain bits are flipped in the game and then send that up somehow.
Mm-hmm.
It's definitely not just a magical thing that happens easily. Someone has to do some work to make it happen for sure.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool though. I must say it makes playing older games on like a RetroArch thing fun to track that sort of stuff, especially if it's a game you know well. Like I was doing that with Cool Spot probably like a year ago. It was pretty fun. Pretty
Nice.
fun to have achievements.
Is that another one of those games for you that you return to a lot?
No, I never returned.
Okay.
No,
so
I was just
let me pose this question to Sean.
Yes.
TMNT1 for NES. If you use save states to beat that game, including the underwater dam section, defusing the bombs, if you use save states, you beat that game?
I would say yes. It's still pretty hard. But
Does it count if you beat a game using the Game Genie too?
it's like time
I
travel,
mean-
man. You're traveling back in time. We're defying logic here. Okay, it counts.
like I get like you're thinking of it like some official like like put your name in the back of Nintendo Power kind of thing or something. Like okay, maybe that's not it, but I would still say that person beat that game just on a general like I don't know. It's just
See, you know what we're trying to reduce,
I prefer people
Frank?
say, I've seen the ending to that game.
Frank, what Sean and I are trying to do is reduce our fucks per minute. Okay, the amount of times you say fuck at a game, we're trying to reduce that down to near zero. Whereas you enjoy spreading your vocal joy around in the room while you play games. But we have children around. We can't be screaming profanities every 5 seconds when we die in these games.
I appreciate your take, both of you, your takes. But the problem here is the assumption of your fucks per minute argument is that you could beat it if you just kept trying. And I'm saying
Yeah.
you probably couldn't, or you would get to a point where you would put the game down. And that is not beating it.
Well, I mean, the fucks per minute would go like way up, and then eventually you'd get good, and they'd start coming back down. But we don't want to get up to that peak fucks per minute level. We want to flatten the curve, as they say, of fucks per minute. And you love the fucks per minute. That's where you're at, right?
I don't love it. I hate it. I'll give you some examples later in the show of where I also bring those down. Okay, good question.
Oh, well, the second half, why did 360 era console games not have the save load freely?
They're
I mean, I
talking
can think.
free.
Yeah, I can guess. I don't really know. exactly, but I imagine that those games never really were designed to have like robust kind of like streaming systems. So like you were kind of like, as soon as you loaded into the start of an area, you were probably like progressing through memory in a very linear way, and like everything was like designed to be hit in a very specific fashion, and plopping you right into the middle, it probably just was not designed, and you probably didn't have the memory capacity to be able to like pull things in from all over the place depending on where you were. It could also be just like the size of the save file would probably have to be way too big to actually track all of the like specific spots you could be or what would be around you at that time, kind of thing. And the like space was just so much more limited at that time.
And sometimes on disc for 360 era and PlayStation, like it is optimized like based on likely order, but still having to read or like maybe go back and get an enemy and something like it just might have been too long. I remember
even like 360 era, like with 2 Human.
Oblivion had it, I think, but it probably took forever to save and load. And I definitely remember save and load being a huge barrier of saving the state of the game for Rage on PS3. It was fine on Xbox, but your boy Carmack couldn't figure out how to get it to load quickly on the PS3. I'll tell you that much.
No, he could not, unfortunately. But even like I remember with 2 Human, sorry, Sean, you would run like data analytics basically on how much like which assets were used the most, and then they would pack that closer to the middle on the actual CD or DVD so that there would be less seek time, so it would load faster. Like I can't like so that kind of stuff has been going on since the PS1 days, and you know you would just like, if you had to search all over the disk, it would take forever. It's not like now where they're just pulling it off a solid state drive and, you know, can load in 2 seconds or whatever. But anyways, go ahead.
Well, I am assuming it like the game save size is the big thing, because I think he's also talking about the fact that at around the same time on PC, you could do the quick save, but you couldn't do that on console games. But they did start doing that. I think I remember starting to see it on the original Xbox when they started doing PC ports to that system, because that had a hard drive, if I'm not mistaken. And I think that's when you first started to see it on consoles, like the idea of a quick save. So I think it was just... I
had one handy, but it's also like the memory cards were not a lot of memory. That's what you were saying on. There was, or it was on the cartridge itself, which you also don't have a lot of space.
Yeah. Yeah, like PlayStation 1 and even like, you know, Super Nintendo, like you had like a set amount of memory for your save, like whatever 32 blocks was, or a block. It was probably like 32 kilobytes or something. It was probably something tiny. So, you know, you're pretty limited in what you could put in there. You can't really like define everywhere, you know, every location possible.
Yeah, like a quick save is like you're saving every position of every enemy, like every object, everything, like exactly where the player is, what they're doing. Whereas like a regular save would be like you just go back to that spawn point and you have certain game flags that you've saved. It's like way less space.
Mm-hmm. All right, good one. Next, you guys put me on to Tim Rogers / Action Button, and recently I've been watching H Bomber Guy, who featured briefly in the latest Action Button video. Do you follow other channels or personalities, not necessarily long form like these two? I've tried NoClip, but always found it a little too dry or saccharine. Many just feeling like puff pieces for X developer. Kisses, hugs, Rob. I listen and watch no one else. I scan and read reviews from major sources like IGN, but I don't want to be tainted. I'm forming my own opinions about games, so I keep it clean. Although I like to talk about what people are saying, I don't specifically want to know what anyone's saying. I want to say it.
I watch a couple, but most of mine are like either game developers talking about making games, or like or like a guy who makes videos about like specific mechanics in games. It's not really I don't know the other guy, H Bomber guy. I don't know, and I don't really watch any like documentaries. I used to watch No Clip every once in a while, but I kind of found the same thing that Rob found, where I was like not really that interested. Though I know they did just recently do one on Chivalry 2, which I worked on, and I know they also did one recently on Rogue Legacy, I think, which I know those guys.
We
So
need
that was
Digital
kinda
Foundry to do a port comparison.
cool. Ooh, I didn't
Performance.
port those though. I didn't port those.
Yeah, has any game you've ever ported? I have a question. Has any game you've ever ported been featured on Digital Foundry?
Not that I'm aware of. No.
Okay, I can't wait for that day.
I will take a picture, like frame it and put it on my wall when that happens.
But Digital Foundry is pretty good. Like, I don't watch everything they do, but once in a while I'll check something out. And I think I mentioned before Ars Technica, the War Stories, I think it's called, where old developers in particular, kind of what we were talking about with the save game states, talk about. I remember the Crash Bandicoot one where they basically hacked the hardware, exploited memory on the hardware. They've got good stories of like problem solving when the hardware really was the limitation for making the game.
So I saw somebody on Twitter recently, like I guess one of the devs on Metroid Prime, because it's like it's an
I was following that
anniversary
thread.
and there's some pretty interesting stuff there. Like they talked about, what was the one? They like when there's static on Samus's visor, they didn't have enough space for like a static texture, so they actually used the code as like the data for the texture, and somehow it actually looked like static. Like it's weird, but cool.
That is cool.
I have
sorry.
some actual channels that people could watch. Though these are probably going to be too nerdy for most people, but Game Maker's Toolkit is one I watch. That one's pretty approachable for most people if you have any interest in, game mechanics and deeper thought about specific games. He does a really cool series called Boss Keys, which is all about Zelda dungeons, which is pretty cool. The other guy is Derek Liu, Lieu. He actually makes game trailers. He's a very prolific game trailer maker in the industry, so he does videos about how to make game trailers and talks about trailers he does. And I know he's done a lot of games that people would know.
Isn't that the same guy who did Spelunky? Am I getting his?
That's Derek something else. That's a different guy.
Derek Yu.
Derek Yu.
Okay.
And then I gotta follow my boy Jonathan Blow. He always puts up some super nerdy, super heavy C++ style, or not even C++. He writes his own. He's got his own language now that he wrote himself that he's making his games in. Like, these are ultra nerdy, super programmer heavy videos that probably no one who listens to this would like. And then the last one is Molly Rocket, which is also another developer guy. His name is Casey Moratori. I believe that's his name. And he is also a super smart tech guy. He's worked with Jonathan Blow on The Witness, and he started this project like 7 or 8 years ago, where he was going to code a game completely by scratch on stream, an hour a day. So every stream is like an hour of him programming, and then half an hour of like taking Q&A questions. And so he's got, I don't know, like tons and tons of videos going back 8 years of him just making this game up from literally a blank like text file all the way up to the game it is now. It's pretty cool. So I'm nowhere near finishing this series. I'm like so far behind, but it's kind of cool to follow and see like a full game being made and all the thought process that goes into it and stuff. So those are a couple I follow. But yeah, I'm like with Frank. I don't follow many. I listen to like one gaming podcast, but even then it's getting like, it's called Last Stand. It's like Colin Moriarty, who used to be at IGN back in the day. He's got his own thing. And so he does it, but now the like podcasts are becoming like 4-hour long marathons. So I end up just skipping through almost all of it. I only listen to maybe like half an hour of it and I skip all the rest. So I really I don't listen to much traditional gaming news or anything like that at all either.
I'm going to mention the GDC Vault. If you're actually interested in game development, like the GDC
yeah.
Vault has lots of game development talks and ideas. If you're an aspiring game designer, one talk I will recommend, Practical Creativity by Raf Koster, who also has a book. Let me see. I looked it up here. A Theory of Fun for Game Design. It's like if you're struggling to come up with ideas or how to, like, you have like writer's block or designer block when you're designing games, Practical Creativity by Raf Koster video. Check it out.
I have that book, but I haven't seen the video.
You have Theory of Fun?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Shit, dude.
It's a classic, man.
I think I have Theory of Fun as well. I think I'm actually reading it right now.
Yeah, so I don't watch much YouTube. I mean, I'm really into Dan TDM, Unspeakable, Kindly Kean, Lanky Box, all those guys. No, that's what the kids watch. So I do see a lot of those.
You watch that stuff now too?
Oh yeah, all the time. I would throw it back to the listeners. I want to know recommendations because I just haven't really been able to find YouTubers. Like, I actually want to see people who stream games but are just kind of not like obnoxious idiots, like who are actually just want to be like, hey, check out this new game, like, and just talk about it. Like, I would be into that, but I can't find anyone who does that. So let me know.
I can think of two people. Me and you, Sean.
That's right.
Playing It Takes Two. Check it out. Breaking it down on YouTube. Also, Huck has a long list of stuff you've played on the YouTube channel.
Well, some of it. I would say my most acclaimed one that everyone should watch is obviously my playthrough of Binary Domain. I mean, it is a gem of YouTube. I think it's got at least 60 people that have watched it. Probably 10 of them have been myself. So, I mean, it is just ready to go up the charts.
All right. I think that's it for the questions. Sean, nothing you actually watch or listen to?
No, I mean, the only thing I do occasionally throw on is Kind of Funny. Like, if I just, for some reason, want to see some reaction to some news or something, I might watch them, but that's about it. And it's mostly just because they're the only ones I really know that I don't hate. But there is one more question, though, Frankie.
I used to watch Pactor Factor. I kind of got off of it. It was like a bit of a business side with Michael Pactor, formerly of Game Trailers.
Does he still do it?
Yeah, I think he does. It's like they have part of it behind a paywall, but then eventually it gets released. I'm just really far behind, but I used to enjoy his insights. Okay, sorry, one more question. Sorry, Sean. Sorry. Lastly, I would love an episode dedicated to your guys' time at Silicon Knights. Highs and lows. Just a good long 4 to 6 hour talk. Now,
nothing big.
You think the Microsoft Activision deal will fall through? Thanks. Love you guys. Sonny Ryan. We've talked about this a long time. We're doing like a playthrough of Too Human. And
I think that would be a good way to do it. Like, I don't know how many people we could pull back in that, worked on the game, but that would be kind of interesting. I like the only thing like I would say about that is, number one, I don't know if, like, I at one point was like, it would be cool to tell stories, but then I'm like, I don't know if I have that many good stories. Like, maybe more people who are a little higher up than me at the company might, but I don't. But then the other thing is, I don't know what we're allowed to talk about. Like, are NDAs and stuff still a thing? Like, does that matter? I have no idea.
I think they're probably expired by now. I think 10 years is plenty. I don't think they can do much.
And I guess
I wouldn't
the
want to talk about anyone in particular. It would be more like what it was like making the game, or I definitely have some stories from X-Men Destiny. Like, I mean, my voice acting as I play, I'll remember my readings of some of those lines. But parts I always found awkward and funny, like Pixie casting the spell at the beginning. I can't remember the character's name when he says, "We are peacekeepers." I would always think he's saying, "We are beekeepers."
Yeah.
But it's, yeah, a lot of memories there. I'll tell you what, I've had lots of jobs I don't remember a goddamn thing about. I couldn't have cared less. The day I left that job, everything evaporated from my mind. I remember Silicon Knights fondly. And I have lots of stories, lots of good times, lots of friends. It was my gateway into the games industry, and I will forever be grateful.
Yeah, I mean, there's like a lot of people involved in Film Junk that came, like, that we met through.
I never would have met you guys.
Yeah, exactly.
That's right.
So, yeah.
I saw Sean at Red Square every Friday, and we didn't know
Yeah,
it was
that's
the
right.
DJ. Anyway, all right. Thanks for those junk mail questions. They were
Whoa. Activision Microsoft
Holy
deal.
Christ.
We got to talk about
Yes.
this. This is huge.
Thanks. Desperate to beat our speed record of last week. That's all this is.
Speed record. We're going long, and we still have to do what we played, dude.
Oh,
I
yeah.
I'm
actually
interested in one thing.
don't have that much to say about this, but I did have one thought, which is I'm surprised it's going on as long as it is.
Sorry, Sean.
The Microsoft Activision deal. Like, it seemed like it was just done, but it's still dragging on. Sony is obviously the ones that are the holdouts. They're concerned about Call of Duty. I wonder, is it possible that they spin off a separate company just for Call of Duty and then Microsoft acquires the rest of Activision? Like, could something like that ever happen? Like, I feel like that's the only way this will be a clean, everyone's okay with it kind of deal.
It's not going to be clean. Sony's not going to be okay with it, and too bad. Deal with it. It's going through. I'm sure they'll have to uphold any contracts that exist, but it's happening.
I mean, Microsoft did make them some kind of proposal that kind of put in writing that Call of Duty is going to be multi-platform for like the next 10 years or something. Wasn't that what it was? So
Yeah,
I don't
I'm
know.
assuming
Yeah,
I'll
something
hold
like that.
any exclusivity arrangements, but either way, look, Blue Haze, whatever. I don't know the details, but it sounds like Sony are being a bunch of babies when it comes to this stuff. Like, it's annoying.
Yeah, I mean, Call of Duty is huge, and I think that's what it comes down to. But
There'll be a day when it isn't. It's just a matter of time.
Yeah.
yeah,
I must say, I don't think the spin-off of a Call of Duty specific studio would change. I mean, I don't think that would go through. I think Microsoft, the only reason they would want Activision is because of Call of Duty. Like, why would they want all the other shit with
yeah,
Activision?
that could be true.
I think the Call of Duty money is just so eclipses everything else that the whole point you would acquire it would be for that. Now, it's not Activision Blizzard, right? Like, it's not Blizzard and
Oh,
all
it's
that.
Blizzard.
Yeah, it's
So
Blizzard.
it's World of Warcraft and all that stuff. Okay, well, maybe, I don't know. Maybe that would sweeten the pot if you still had that stuff in there, but
Probably
I don't know how
wouldn't
many
pay as
people
much
still-
as you
The mobile
as
company
they
they own as
but-
well?
I'm sure
What's
they
that?
do. They own King?
Is it King?
I
I think so.
don't know.
Look, there's lots. It's happening. Unless there's something I'm really missing on this deal, I don't get it. It feels like Sony's just prolonging it to be an annoyance. Like, it's to their benefit to have it take time and hold it up in court.
Yeah, I just don't know if one company can kind of permanently put the kibosh on this thing. Like, they're the only holdouts, so like, how much power does one company have? Obviously, Sony is a big company, but I don't know. Obviously, we don't know that much about this stuff, but
And to beat a dead horse, only one solution.
burn all these companies down.
End it all. Finally got it in there. Sorry, Sean. I'm interrupting you.
About time.
Well, the soundboard was interrupting you. Still controlled by me. Anyway, what we played. Anyone have anything they want to talk about?
Well, I want to hear about Sonic Frontiers and Evil West.
Well, first I got to talk about God of War Ragnarok.
Oh,
I platinumed and did everything in. That's called
Wow.
gaming, boys. You might want to look into it. Now, in terms of my shame, I did have to go down to the lowest difficulty for 2 of them.
Oh no, you didn't.
And I do not regret it. The difficulty spikes on 2 of these bosses, or 3, I should say. One where you have to fight 2 at once or 3 at once are the worst. It's just so annoying. My fucks per minute were at an all-time high. And at one point I'm like, enough. I just want to beat this game. I'm done. So I beat the game on regular, but to 100% it, I had to drop down the difficulty, which I think I had to do on the first God of War for the final Valkyrie fight as well, which to me is bad design. Like, how could your game spike that much on a difficulty level? Brutal, embarrassing. Either way, still a great game. I think I had more fun, again, in the after game, getting all the stuff, the trial section. It's got this weird, like, combo system where you have to replay the trials so many times. That kind of sucked. But other than that, side quests, awesome. There's so many hidden areas that are amazing. Like, I would have regretted not seeing a lot of stuff in the game. Story, I really liked it. If I'm being 100% honest, I don't think I could tell you the actual plot for the most part, or the details of what happened in that game. I'm not the person to do that, first of all, or to care that much, but I really was like, I just want, like, I don't know what's going on. I'm going to fight some other people in this big war. Whatever, that's fine. You don't really need to understand it, but I was like, kind of weird. But there are a couple of good emotional moments and well-written moments, I would say. And Huck, you got to a couple character models that you liked, particularly for creatures. And there's one coming up you haven't gotten to yet that's going to blow your mind.
Ooh, I can't wait.
Text me when you get there. You'll know it. And just a hint,
right.
Connection to Silicon Knights / Too Human.
Uh-oh.
A boss fight.
Did we talk about it already? Oh. Interesting.
I mean, there's a lot of connections, though.
It is Norse. They're both Norse mythology, so.
Right, but this character has not showed up yet. Let me just double check that this was an actual boss fight in Too Human. I'm pretty sure it was. Yes. Yeah. It's amazing. Anyway, the game rules will definitely either be number 1 or number 2 as of right now on my end of the year list. So, need to get back to Elden Ring and make one of these 2 official. But the reason I wanted to say that is, let's say you beat God of War Ragnarok. You're like me. You platinumed it, you auto-popped, you did it all. To be fair, I haven't auto-popped yet. I'm saving that in case. Well, are you on PlayStation Stars? I'm hoping by auto-popping, I'm going to fill up. I'm going to be complete 2023 already. So that's another bonus to auto-popping for the PlayStation Stars account. Anyway, if you've done it like me, if you're a real gamer and you've 100%ed God of War Ragnarok and you're looking for another game to play, I only gave it about 2 hours, but Evil West is an excellent dessert post-game version of God of War. They basically ripped off God of War. It's very similar combat with small tweaks. Level design is almost identical with, a Wild West theme, horror Wild West theme. It's a AA version of God of War. So it lacks some of the polish in like death animations and a few things here or there. But overall, it feels like I'm just continuing God of War, but now I'm actually refreshing it with a new setting. And while I'm used to the controls of God of War, it's a great follow-up.
So like similar like main weapons and stuff?
No, but like the combats, I know a lot of games have combat on R1 and R2, but it's more than that. Like when you aim certain weapons, it's the same. The combat feels extremely similar. The level design is very similar. It's kind of like a flat plane. It's not as open as God of War, but you press. The only annoying thing is it's circle on God of War, but cross on Evil West for climbing up ledges and stuff. That's the only slight difference that I wish they wouldn't have changed. But like they even copied the way you break chests is almost the same animation. There's other chests you lift up. Like it's, I don't want to say shameless, but really close to God of War. And to be honest, I don't mind that. It's a perfect follow-up.
Okay.
So if you like God of War, and you are okay with playing a non-super polished, lesser story version, if you kind of want more of the same combat, I would say check out Evil West.
Yeah, I mean, reviews have been good, not great, but yeah,
I would say this game is playing a little better than the reviews I read, but I assume I didn't read the reviews. I assume I just saw the scores, like a little repetitive, lack of open exploration. But I like that. Sometimes I just want a straightforward linear game. So it's hitting kind of a sweet spot for me after a very big game like God of War.
Okay. Well, I can mention, so maybe I'll save the rapid fire for another week, but I'll mention one game that I have been playing that I picked up for Black Friday, which Tiny Tina's Wonderlands. So Borderlands series, I've tried 2 and 3, played a couple hours of both, and it was okay, but it never really grabbed me. And I think for me, it's more, I see the potential in co-op. I could see how that would be the most fun way to play those games. And so as it turned out, tried the trial. There's a trial for PS Plus of Tiny Tina's Wonderlands. I played a bit of it with Kieran. I just was firing it up, and he was like, "Oh, what's this? Let's try it." And I was like, "Okay." And we actually had a great time with it. And so I ended up buying the game. But it is, I just find I actually like the setting and the humor in it a little more than the Borderlands series. Like the idea is it's, you're kind of in this fantasy Dungeons and Dragons campaign, essentially. Like they literally show these characters, like Tiny Tina is the dungeon master, and she's kind of narrating the story. And so as you're going through the game, she'll change things on you, or like, say, "Oh, well, this happened," or suddenly this appears, but it's got a kind of an interesting meta sense of humor, and it's got guns, which is weird for a fantasy game, but it kind of works. I'm kind of enjoying that.
Spells or something like that, or
well, there are spells, but then there's also actual guns, but they're just more like magic guns, I guess. And I mean, the one complaint what's that?
Love guns. That sounds good.
Yeah. The one complaint I would have is it's like, I mean, I know it's a looter shooter. There is too much loot. Like it's every 2 seconds you're stopping to check to see, okay, do I have to swap this, swap that? And it's like, we were talking about the menus in God of War. I mean, it's not so much that the menus are bad, but it's just like it's really hard to distinguish some of these weapons. Like you basically just have a number and you kind of have a color or a name of a type of weapon that it is. But like there's so much variation, it's really hard to tell without just equipping it and seeing what it's like. So that's kind of slows down the fun sometimes. Although I guess you could just keep playing and ignore that stuff if you wanted to. But yeah, I mean, it's fun. I mean, it's nothing groundbreaking. I know the reviews it's just kind of like Borderlands reskinned. But I guess for me, I haven't played much of Borderlands, and I kind of like this more. So I'm digging it.
Cool. Huck, anything for you?
For me, I tried Pentiment a little bit. I played for maybe an hour or so. And I think I kind of had the same impression that you guys had. Like, basically, I wasn't really sure what the point of the game is or what I'm really doing other than kind of walking around talking to people. And like, you kind of get the sense, okay, I'm some sort of artist / businessman or whatever you choose to do. And you kind of have these, like, this background.
Oh, sorry.
Oh. You kind of had this like background story that you're creating on the fly, but I haven't really got to the point where anything has happened, and I feel like I played for like quite a while, and also I found the font. Like I even picked the easy to read font.
You picked the safe fonts or whatever it was, or like
yeah, whatever the easiest to read one is.
yikes.
And even then, I found the font really frustrating because it kind of does this thing where it almost like outlines the font and then fills it in, like backfills it after. And I mean, it looks neat, but when you're trying to read like walls and walls of text, it gets kind of annoying, I found. So, yeah, I don't know. There's, just like weird, like color changing stuff going on. So
But, I mean, the thing with the text, though, and we were kind of talking about this last week. I don't know if we've played long enough to really know, but it seems like that is like a key part of the gameplay in some way, right? Like,
yeah. So one thing that like I was thinking, okay, I'll go back to it and try to find out what's going on. And then I listened to a developer interview with a guy from Obsidian, the game director on it, and he was saying that apparently there's some murder that takes place. I'm like, okay, that's kind of intriguing. But then he said that there's like 160 characters in the game. And I'm like, does he actually expect me to remember 160 characters? Because there's no way that's happening unless I sit down and play this thing in some epic marathon where I'm actually like fully invested with no outside distractions. That's the only way I'm going to remember all this stuff that's going on. So, and I feel like maybe that's why reviews have been higher than... Even he said he was surprised by how high the reviews are. So I wonder if the reason that it's so high is because these reviewers are sitting down and basically powering through this game, and they're able to remember what happens. Like a normal gamer who has to sit down, a couple hours a day, maybe, if they're lucky, and play, is not going to remember like all these fine details and like all these characters that are going into this town and everything and this big grand story they're making. Like it's just it's tougher to remember them if it's not like a real person with a face you can remember and like emotional expression and stuff like that, when it's just like a name or like some weird character model / sprite on the screen. It's harder to remember unless they have very specific clothing or whatnot. But I mean, 160 characters, that's so many.
Yeah, that's probably why they have that mechanism in the book to zoom out when you click on names, and it like shows you what they look like in the border of the pages and stuff like that.
I haven't even opened the menu yet. So
no, but you haven't hovered over like a name or anything like that?
No.
Oh,
I'm playing on console, and I didn't even know that was a thing.
I know, like on console you do see the names underlined, kind of like in Case of the Golden Idol, but like I didn't know what to do to select that and get that menu thing you were talking about, Frank, because
I'm guessing...
I don't know if I actually saw that or not.
No, I know there was a version on PC where it was like that As Dusk Falls game or whatever it was called, where if you use maybe the D-pad or something like that, it'll cycle through all possible things to select them. But I'm assuming it's the right stick or something like that on the controller. But that helps. Like, it makes you like pull up, and it'll give like footnotes to what things mean. So anything that's underlined that's like a place or of historical significance that might not be obvious, it'll tell you what that means. But ultimately, that just leads to more reading. So if you think you're reading too much, the antidote is more reading.
Perfect.
So again, tell me why this game. Convince me that I need to play this game in the first half an hour. Or again, tighten up your loop. Get that cool loop that you have in this game, or the idea, give it to me early so that I can at least have motivation to keep playing.
Yeah, I don't even feel like I've really reached any sort of loop. All I've done is basically follow the map marker to the place I need to go to and basically try to get there as fast as possible with talking to as few people as possible. And even then, I get stopped many times along my journey.
I'm the opposite. I exhaust every conversation, every interaction, and I'm really not getting anywhere. So,
yeah, I bet. Did you even get to the monastery where you're doing like the artwork stuff?
Hell no, dude. I was talking to people too much. The borders of my book.
There you go.
Okay.
So yeah, that's really all I played. I played some more God of War, but I'm nowhere near platinum that baby. Let me tell you, I'm like maybe a quarter of the way through, so I got a long way to go.
Well, maybe by the time you guys are done, it'll be out on PC, and then I can play it again, and then we can review it.
Definitely.
Anyway, no pressure. If we get to it, we get to it with the review. I'll remember lots about it. But I forgot to mention, has anyone said, like, it seems like the exclusivity window on PlayStation is like around 2 years? Like Sackboy and Miles Morales. Sackboy and Miles Morales just came out almost on the anniversary that they came out on PlayStation 5.
Yeah, I mean,
they're kind of doing a 2-year minimum window.
Yeah, I mean, that was sooner than I expected for those games, but I guess that's, it seems like the new standard they're setting there, so.
I would have thought it would be tied to sort of like when the next game is going to come out. So like it seemed like they put Spider-Man out on Epic or wherever they put it around the time, like a little before Miles Morales was going to ship, to try to probably entice people to play it on Steam and then buy a PS5 or whatever.
Okay, you might be right. I didn't realize Spider-Man came out on Epic that much before.
I don't know exactly the release date, but that's
Spider-Man
sort of like...
No. Spider-Man just came out on Steam this summer. It came out on August.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember if it was...
It's way after Miles Morales.
Don't remember.
Anyway,
oh yeah,
whatever.
it says August 12th. Anyways, yeah. Okay. But I don't know. I don't know what it is then.
It just
I
seems
thought that's what it was.
They might be following, if they're going to release it on PC, probably around 2 years, which, I don't know, that seems like a pretty fair window in terms of exclusivity to the console. Now that I'm on PC, I want it earlier, but what are you going to do?
Well, I mean, and to that point, like, if it's been 2 years, that game is probably no longer a system mover. So there's really no point in holding it back any longer. You might as well try to get more money in the other areas that were people who are not going to buy, PS or Sony consoles to play it.
Yeah,
So
and it's down
makes
to a
sense.
greatest hits price or sale prices, and now you can launch it at full price on PC.
Yeah.
Okay, I played Sonic Frontiers, again, about an hour and a half or so. This is a tough game to talk about. Like, the initial impressions were not good. The opening cinematic, you didn't play this, did you, Sean?
Not yet. I probably will be in the near future, but...
So it's on sale. I bought it on PlayStation, not on Steam, because it's actually on sale on PlayStation, and it's got an auto pop. But it has this cinematic, which is compressed, like it's rendered out, looks like shit. Then you start in this level, and like the rain effect on Sonic looks atrocious. I was like, how is this a game that's getting launched today? The user experience in the menus is very unintuitive. You have to hit A to go down a level. I mean, just in general, it seems like a rushed, flawed game in many ways. But when I'm actually exploring the world and getting used to controlling Sonic, so there's open world and then more on rails sections where you go really fast, and they're more traditional 3D Sonic levels. So it's a combination of open world and these curated levels where you're trying to like just get to the end as fast as you can while doing mild exploration. I actually think I won't mind the gameplay as soon as I get used to it. Like, it controls different. Knowing there's a lot of like auto seeking for Sonic where he heads in a straight line, because I think to handle issues with Sonic going so fast, and I'm finding it a little frustrating, or at least there's a learning curve there. But I understand why the reviews are like seven-ish. I feel there's parts of it that are way worse. Like that, I was like, this game is nowhere near a 7 when I started it, but as I play it more, I'm starting to understand it. Like I could have some fun with it as an open world Sonic game. I like the art style of like the cartoon Sonic with the photorealistic world. That still works for me. They got the tried and true drawing mechanic from Knights is back. I already unlocked that, and that's a win for me. But it's okay so far. I don't think I can say much more at this point, other than this game launched on the Switch, right? Like not cloud version, actual version.
Yes, I believe so.
And this is the first time I think the Switch is hurting like a game big time. Like this game feels like they had to at least get a Switch version working, and every other version is suffering as a result of the Switch game. Like the compression of the videos, all this stuff. Like I'm sure they could compress it different ways, but I don't think they put that much effort into making different SKUs as good as they can be. And we got to ditch the Switch. Like it's time to go. What was the text you sent me today?
Yeah, I mean, are you talking about the Xbox Series S? Yeah, like there's all this talk that people who are developing for the Xbox platform are being kind of hamstrung by the fact that they have to ship a game that runs well on the Series S as well as the Series X. And we talked about this back when they announced the two different consoles and how that could be a problem. And it kind of seems like it is. I mean, obviously the Switch is even more of a problem.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
But
well,
I think
that was my response. Yeah. They've obviously never developed a game for the Switch then, if they're complaining about the S.
But I think a lot of people just either outsource the Switch port and kind of don't worry about, like, if it comes out like a shittier version, they don't care. Or some people are doing the cloud version now. But yeah, I mean, it is weird how splintered, like if you put out a new game right now, you got to hit, like if you want to maximize your reach, like you're trying to put something out on PS5 and Xbox Series X that looks amazing, but then you got to support all the way down to the Switch. Like that's a huge spectrum there.
Can Microsoft or Sony, please, Apple, just buy Nintendo? They need to get bought. They can still design games. Can we just up their technology requirement for the love of God?
You know what I have to say to all these people? You're a bunch of whiners, okay? I don't know if you guys remember, but Citizens of Earth came out on the PS4 and the 3DS, for God's sakes. Now, if there's not a bigger range than that, cry me a river, okay?
It's a different type of game, sir.
You're right. It was not 3D. You're correct. But it was... it just takes more time and more money to get it running, and it won't look as good. There's no way. It will not look as good as a Series X versus a Switch game. But you can get it to happen. But you just have to put in more money and basically treat it as two completely different games. You could have a very good-looking Series X game and then a shitty Series S/Switch game, and you could do that. It's just... that classic triangle: time, money, and whatever the last corner is, quality. You can only pick two. So people are, picking time and cost, not quality. It's obvious.
Well, it makes me think too, like, do you think we're going to get a Switch Pro anytime soon? Like that kind of never happened. We just got the OLED version, but there has been talk of a Switch Pro.
Probably for a year until the new console comes out, but it's time already. We are dealing with a fucking Wii U in portable mode, for Christ's sakes. Can we get a reasonable console?
Well, we didn't talk about this, but the new Pokemon game came out, and it is getting absolutely slammed for all of its performance issues. And so maybe that will entice Nintendo to kind of put out a new one. But I mean, if this Pokemon that is getting hammered by reviewers as having the worst performance is still selling 25 to 100 million copies, what the hell does Nintendo care? They're not being forced to put out a new thing. They're making boatloads of money.
That's why I'm urging consumers. Ditch the Switch. It's the new slogan. We got to get something new. Do not give them your money. And sorry, I had one more thought relating to that. Oh, we'll get they're going to go through this holiday season, get all the money for people who still want Switches. then announce a new one. When
They would not announce a new one before Breath of the Wild 2 comes out. There's no way.
Although I could
that's a good
see
point.
them saying day one with Breath of the Wild, there's a new Pro Switch that runs it better. I could definitely see that happening.
What's the
Possibly on
release date
same
for
day.
Breath of the Wild 2 though? Is it March? It's
They
not
said that. It's not going to happen.
Something like that, yeah.
I don't know. But yeah, I mean that's happened before, so it could happen again.
May 12th, currently it says.
May.
2023.
So use Zelda as another transitional game between two systems, maybe.
I don't think it'll be a new system, though. I think they will do or bridge the gap with a pro version or something like that.
Yeah.
All right. Does anyone else have anything they played? Because we've gone way too long. This episode is going into OT, and it needs to be stopped. Check us out on youtube.com/Game Junk to watch the videos. Next week, who knows? Is there anything? Oh, we got to play.
Callisto Protocol.
That's this week?
Pretty sure.
Jeez Louise, do I ever get a break?
No.
I was going to say Warhammer 40K Darktide. I want to play that. That comes out Tuesday.
Yeah, that is coming out on Game Pass PC as well, I believe.
So many games.
Callisto Protocol is Friday, December 2nd, I think.
Yeah, I think you're right.
like.
Yep.
My God. And then the week after that is Final Fantasy VII Crisis Core.
Yeah, that game is just sneakily coming out very, very soon. Like I haven't heard anything about that game except for people that are super hyped that it's coming out. But like, I don't see any advertising. I don't see any articles being written. Like, it's very quiet.
Yeah, either it's getting delayed or it's bad, I think is the vibe I'm getting. But I still have hope.
I got help. Oh, yeah.
Anyway, that's it. Thanks for listening or watching. Bye-bye.
Well, I consider myself a YouTuber.
Oops, wrong one.
It's okay. Do it again. Do it.
It's on the wrong page. No, this episode must end.
Game over, yeah!
Perfect. Now, how am I going to splice in the outro music with that? I don't want to creep all over that. We got to keep it going.
Just
So
end
that-
on that and just end. No
Just
outro,
no outro
music.
music? Oh, yeah. Okay. That's a good idea.
Yeah, I won't do outro music for this one.
Okay. And then I'll just put the little like Game Junk logo for like a second afterwards or something
You
like
want,
that.
grab the game over screen from Sega.
Oh, yeah. Where is that? What's the game? Sega Rally?
Yeah, I'll send it to you.
Oh, it looks like Marvel Midnight Suns is out on Friday too.
I thought that got delayed till next year.
Only on certain platforms.
I did not know that.
Cracker Barrel cheese and
embarrassing.
sweet ingredients like
Oh,
chocolate.
yeah.
Sorry
Your
about that,
YouTube videos totally come through.
No,
when
I
you're
know.
clicking
Some
around.
website, I was looking something up and it
Started
played an ad. It auto-played an ad. And I was like, what?
Auto pop, baby.
Game over, yeah!
Oh, yeah. That's beautiful. Should I
There you go.
Should I rip the... No, that would probably get us a strike.
What?
I was going to say, should I actually, like, rip this video off?
It's literally just an image. It doesn't animate. It doesn't do anything. It's just that the image came over. With,
Does the original one do anything?
No, that's it. That's the actual game over screen that I sent you.
Oh.
Game over, yeah!
Oh, it doesn't even, like... It is literally just a static image. Okay. Okay. Interesting. Cool. Hilarious.
This video has 111,000 views.
What's the comparison, though? What is it comparing?
The first part of the song was from the PC version. The second part is from the Sega Saturn demo disc.
Shit, I hope I got the right
I barely even hear a difference.
Ooh, the second one. It's got some depth to it.
Game over, yeah!
one. Oh, I picked the wrong one. I didn't have the guitar on mine.
Game over, yeah!
Yours is like the original.
I got the shitty version.
Oh no. Okay, I'll put the real version in there. I'll cut it out, and then I'll just put the
You can
screen
post
over
this
top.
discussion at the end if you want. This is embarrassing.
Okay, I will. And then I'll put the real game over at the real game over.
If you want, it's a lot of work, so don't.
What do I have a job? Come on.